"How are you today?" Rebecca asked Jan. "Well, it has occurred to me that my dearest human has never smelled my backside. I must bond with him in different ways. Like my father used to always say, if you want someone to look you in the eye, make sure your mouth smells exactly like your butt. It's difficult to argue with that logic, and so I have eaten some rotting earthworms in preparation for my dear human return, as well as one of his socks." Rebecca did not always agree on all of Jan's theories about life, but this was indeed something that not even Rebecca could argue. Brad went up to his friend Brick and asked him, "So they got you too?" Brick replied, "It's not so much that I miss my testicles. I know it's a rite of passage in our pack, and I'm sure my dearest human has his removed as well. But when that one bulldog comes and parades his around, I can't help but notice how Ginger looks at them. I love Ginger." "I have learned a new trick today," Brad told his friend Spike. "Today I have learned how to shake in order to help my dearest human with his business dealings." Spike replied, "That could be a problem for you. You see, if you are shaking on an agreement, but have no idea what you are agreeing to, you may be in trouble." Spike replied, "The cat told me this is how the devil buys souls." Brad replied, "This is frustrating. I will pee on the bed at home for comfort." Jen was not the type of dog to sit still for very long, and many of her at-the-park rituals did not make any sense, such when she would try humping other owners' legs, or chasing after other dogs chasing balls and frisbees. She never actually wanted the frisbee. She just enjoyed chasing the other dogs. "Jan, what do you think of the bulldog's genitals?" Ginger asked. "They are very fine," said Jan, "but I must admit, Brad has a very fine-smelling butthole." Brick asked Brad, "Do you love Ginger?" "No," said Brad, "but I will admit I ate some of Jan's feces the other day, and it was very delicious." "You know, the cat is a very mysterious and magical creature," Brick said. "It's as if a porcupine mated with a teddy bear, and is much less fun to play with than you would imagine. And yet it poops delicious candy in a box of pea-flavored sprinkles. Dearest human guards these jealously, often harvesting them into a barrel, but I must admit that I eat one from time to time." Brad told Brick it was obvious that based on the theology that Brick had just shared, it would only be a matter of time before Brick was elected President of the United States. 7 years later, Brick was still living in the same home, and had just discovered how to use a toilet like a human, and had gotten a Best in Show ribbon in the National Dog Show, and was able to speak 7 human words. He was, however, never elected to Congress. Jan and Rebecca went over to where Brad and Brick were. "How are you, Jan?" Brad asked. "I've never seen my dearest human poop anywhere. I suspect he may not know how. I have decided to teach him each day as we patrol the neighborhood on our daily walks. It is embarrassing to do in public, but I fear he may die of constipation if I do not. I believe he is showing some interest because he is now collecting my feces in a small bag." Brad said he too was having the same dilemma with his dearest human. Brad knew he had to express his love for Jan the best way dogs know how, biting her and thrashing her in the sand. A bigger dog came over but was quickly barked away by Brad. Brad had a ferocious bark, and every dog in the park was afraid of him since the pit bull incident 3 years prior. Jan and Brad stayed best friends for the rest of their lives, often biting each other in the park, running after each other while other dogs chased balls and frisbee, or even engaging in activities that would make other owners clap their hands and say no. Jan later moved from her normal dog park in LA to one in Paris, France. Brad moved with his dearest owner to Paris 2 months later, and their dearest owners lived in two apartment buildings directly across from each other. Brad was never allowed to shake with a dearest human again after biting the hand of a person in the same day Brick had told him not to. 7 years later, both Brad and Jan could say that they had never seen their dearest human poop, but continued to try and teach them on a nightly basis. Brad introduced Jan one day to the cat's treats in pea-flavored sprinkles, and they both concluded that they were amazing. This is the love story of two dogs named Brad and Jan. In this story, they did not get married. They did not get married because dogs do not get married. But this story is dedicated to two amazing people that did.